Good afternoon, my beautiful babes and babettes! Woo! I sincerely apologize for not uploading yesterday. I made the video, and I thought I uploaded it. I don't know what I was thinking, or whether I was thinking. Maybe I was having a stupid moment. These things happen. This, however, is not bonus content, it's regular content, because I meant to upload that video yesterday. I made the thing, so you would think that I would upload it, but no. But today's video, I would like to talk about how to avoid infantilizing yourself if you are a person with a disability. So as we have been discussing, infantilization can come in multiple forms and will most often or most regularly come from the outside. And I fully believe that it has to come from the outside before it can start coming from the inside. You're not going to be born with a disability and just grow up and have a, quote, normal childhood where no one treats you differently and say to yourself, okay, but I have a disability, so I don't have to do XYZ, or I am unable to do XYZ, or people won't want me to do XYZ, right? The mindset of infantilization, I believe, does have to start from the outside and come in. But the reaction to infantilization, the reactions, can be many and varied. There will be people who say, no, you're wrong. I have these skills and I have the capacity to show them. But a lot of the time, and especially in the case of loving infantilization, if it occurs often enough, the person in question may end up saying, no, I don't have to do this, or no, I may not be capable of doing this because it's dangerous, or I'm just not able. Or, alternatively, no one's going to want me to do this because other people can do it better than I can. Okay. Now, if we're going for a very extraordinary example of where someone's disability did not, quote, hold them back, and I don't like this rhetoric, okay, so we're going to get through this as quickly as we can. But think of an extraordinary example like Stevie Wonder, okay? He was, as far as I'm aware, born blind or went blind very soon after birth. Because I believe, no, I'm sorry, he went blind soon after birth because I believe he was given too much oxygen in the incubator. But what happened with Stevie Wonder was that he also turned out to be a child prodigy. And, I mean, listen to any of his music and you'll be blown away. If for anyone in this audience who does not know who Stevie Wonder is, go look him up because you'll love him. I love him, anyway. But, okay, that is sticking to the rhetoric of the, quote, Supercrip, which is saying, and I really don't like that word, but it's saying that in order for a person with a disability to even be considered, quote, normal, they have to do extraordinary things. And it is also saying that because you have been oppressed, because you have been kept down by society, you intrinsically have a greater ability to, say, express yourself or to show off a skill that you have. This is not true. This is not intrinsically true, I should say. Just because a person suffers doesn't mean that they're going to be able to make or do better things. And also, just because a person has a disability does not mean that they will suffer, either from the outside or from the inside. It is a common perspective that disability equals suffering. I don't believe that at all. Basically, when I'm not in hospital, I'm living a, quote, perfectly normal life. Normal for me, right? Normal by my standards. And everyone lives a normal life by their own standard for the vast majority of the time. When it comes to self-infantilization, though, much of what happens is that we take in society's conditioning, and say, okay, well, I don't have the talent, I don't have the skill to be like this really extraordinary person with a disability, right? I can't do that. It takes a special kind of person to do that, which may actually be true. But what I am advocating here is just for the capacity to live a so called normal life. When it comes to self infantilization, we can hold ourselves to a lower standard than what we are actually capable of. And as I say, that will come from the outside in. But you are the one who determines how you want to handle the external stimuli coming into you, saying that you're either too different or too weak, or, this is not your responsibility, this is not your job, other people can do this better than you, you don't need to do this. These are all excuses in my eyes, okay? It's not to say that you can't it's not to say that you can just throw all of these mindsets away at once. I don't advocate for doing that. If you grew up believing any or all of these things that I'm expressing, you're not going to outgrow this in a day. All right? Throughout this series, I have been saying that this is a gradual process. Processes by nature are gradual. So if you've been taught through loving infantilization that you probably shouldn't use a knife, to cut up your own food, and a lot of the time it might be a case of, oh, it's just easier for mommy to do it, right? But that gets ingrained in your mind to such an extent that you may eventually be incapable of doing it for yourself, only because you've not tested those waters. So, what I am saying is that the best way to start this is to start it young. But if you're not capable of starting young, at least start at some point. It's not that we need to hold ourselves to a much higher expectation than the quote average population does. We need to hold ourselves to the same standard as the average population does, right? We are not intrinsically lesser because we have disabilities, okay? No matter what your disability is. If this is a case of intellectual impairment to the point that you are not capable of, quote, functioning without help, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, okay, yeah, I do need help doing XYZ. If it's the case of a motor disability, and I gave the example of being able to cut your own food, that might be a bad example. What I've been discussing previously in this series is knowing one's own boundaries, knowing one's own skills, and knowing the parameters of those skills. So if you're not able to do a thing, recognize that you're not able to do that thing, but at the same time, be actively asking yourself the question, what can I do? Because in all other realms, in so many other places, you are going to have capacities and capabilities that possibly you have not tested yet. And it's a matter of saying to yourself that, yes, I have control over these aspects of my life. Even if I don't have control of these aspects, I can still control these aspects. You can always control your own actions. You cannot control what you get from the exterior. You can control how you react to the exterior. You can control how you see yourself, not even based on the external stimuli, but just based on who you are as an individual. I suppose that this is me advocating for, quote, rabid individualism, but that's not even the case. Because, as I say, if you know your limits, you're going to know what you do and don't need help with. So, interdependence is very important in learning how to grow up and learning how to do certain things for yourself, learning what you can't do, learning what you can do. And really, the whole problem is that a lot of people don't end up testing the waters because they've never been encouraged to, or on the malicious side of infantilization, they have been actively discouraged. So it's difficult to write off the conditioning that you have received. It's difficult to say that, no, this is not me. No, this does not define me. I decide what defines me. That is a very difficult thing to do, and it is an active choice that you need to make. That's the whole idea behind this. This is you choosing for yourself to be an adult, basically, to be the person you are capable of being. And wow, does this sound like one of those cheesy PSA things now. But it's absolutely true. This is a decision. This is not something that the world is going to thrust you into. And when it does, if it does, you got to be prepared, because there is going to be a point where you may not have that safety net. Mom and dad aren't going to be around forever. And this is getting morbid. I apologize. Mom and dad aren't going to be around forever. Your mentors are not going to be around forever. You have to learn how to swim, at least to a certain extent. There's always going to be people around, too, to make excuses for you and to pick up your slack. But it's not always going to be the people you want, and it's not always going to be in the way you may want. Because if you've been conditioned to think in a certain way, you're going to say, well, the rest of the world needs to operate in this way around me. But being an adult, part of being an adult too, is realizing that you are not the center of the universe. And that is a really, really good thing. Can you imagine being the center of the universe forever? Fundamentally, this is just coming from me as an individual. I don't like selfish people. I don't like them because I don't understand them. Okay, it's just not part of my nature. It's not one of my vices. But people who say that, yes, this should be done for me, I shouldn't have to do this because mom and dad or people who care about me say that I shouldn't have to, and they've always done it for me anyway. That is not healthy. You are creating your own box to fit your little self in, and that is not healthy. Honestly, I truly do advocate getting rid of these boxes for as gradually as you're going to have to do it. And yes, as I say, this is gradual. For as gradually as you're going to have to do this, I sincerely, sincerely recommend that it be done. Because at some point, you're going to have to swim on your own. Either the world is going to force you into it, or circumstances are going to force you into it, or society, or your job. If you can get a job, because a lot of the unemployment rate is in the realm of people with disabilities, because again, society writes us off, and that is also unhealthy. So, in the name of proving what we are capable of doing, advocate for yourself. Don't let other people write your rules for you. Don't let other people create a box for you. And don't create boxes for yourself based on other people's perceptions of you, she says, getting closer to the screen. All right. So, that is my video for today. This may require a part 2. I need to consult with my lovely consultant. I don't know. But I take weekends off, and Monday is also a statutory holiday where I am. So I will also be taking the Monday off because my mom has the Monday off, and we could be doing some stuff together. So I will see all of you on Tuesday of next week. Have a lovely, wonderful weekend. And if it is a long weekend for you, have a lovely, wonderful, long weekend. All right. Fare thee well, my beautiful people. Mwah.